On this edition of the Just in Time podcast with Justin Kutcher.
You see Pedro Martinez cards with my bat, and
No
you'll see
way.
my cards with Pedro Martinez bat. So for a whole year, we just switched our bats.
Jason
Yeah,
Giambi was the leader of that, right?
he was the ringleader. He called it the bobsled to hell. When I made an out, I broke stuff, and I was running out of things to break.
What was it for a player to be in New York in the playoffs post 9/11?
It was unbelievable, and we all felt like we had a certain responsibility to get the world back to normal.
The greatest sports moments happen in seconds, but the stories behind them are timeless. Dive into the mind of the icons who live those moments. No filters, just authentic conversations about the moments that define careers. I'm Justin Kutcher, and this is the Just in Time podcast.
Welcome to another edition of the Just in Time podcast with Justin Kutcher, joined now by a good buddy of mine, a guy that I met many, many years ago. I guess you could say we're actually two washed up DC sports broadcasters. FP Santangelo, he also happened to play 7 years in the majors, and he's now a broadcaster with the San Francisco Giants after many years with the Washington Nets. FP, dude, thanks for joining me here.
Yeah, thanks for asking me to come on your show. It's my pleasure, man. It's good to see your face. It's been a while.
It has been a while. Do you remember the first time that we met?
I'm trying to think. No, I remember you and I going to Old Town Alexandria on St. Patrick's Day and walking around. I mean, that memory's more in my head than the first time you met. Where did we meet?
First time we met, we did a game together, MLB on Fox.
Of course.
And I think it was like Nats and Pirates.
It was. And I saw the picture on my Instagram of us in that booth. That booth in Pittsburgh, even though it's hard for broadcasters to call a game because it's so high, has one of the best views you'll ever see. It's like you're on a movie set with a skyline in the background. It's unbelievable.
It doesn't seem real. Honestly, it seems like a painting.
It does. And then we had a fun broadcast together. And then out of nowhere, you became the voice of the Wizards. And then we were both in D.C. together, so I got to see you a lot. And I miss you, man. It's good. It's really good to catch up.
Yeah, I miss you too. I think that time for St. Patrick's Day, excuse me, was right before COVID hit and right before everything shut down.
It was about a month before COVID hit, yeah. And then the world changed. And now we're hopefully back to normal, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. But I do remember somebody snapped a picture of the two of us walking, and that became broadcaster man and play-by-play boy.
Yeah, we were two superheroes in Old Town Alexandria that day.
So, well, hey, man, this podcast is all about relationships and storytelling. And I think it's really cool that you and I did one game together on Fox, and that turned into this friendship that's lasted so many years and seeing us both spend time in DC. But for me, the reason why I do this is because I feel like I've been so lucky where I have been privileged to hear stories from players like you and guys I grew up watching and idolizing. And I feel like everybody would love to hear those stories. So for me, I want to take you back to your playing days. And you make your major league debut at 27 years old. You grinded it out in the minors, I think, for 7 years. What was it like when you finally got that call that you're going to the big leagues?
Surreal. I mean, and as a minor leaguer, I was making $10,000 a year my 7th year in the minors before taxes, and I had a wife and a kid, and I'm trying to figure it out. Every year in AAA, I'd been the MVP. I was a fan favorite. I was sitting 270, 280, and all these different positions. Pete McCannon was my manager in Ottawa, Canada. And he said, there's no reason why you can't be a great double switch bench guy in the National League, not the International League, which was the AAA league. So I went up to our minor league director, and I was a head down, stay in your lane, never say a word. I went up to our minor league director, Bill Glavine, and I said, look, there's no reason why I can't do what I'm doing here in the big leagues. You guys are saying this, this, and this. And he goes, well, you're hitting 250 in AAA. I said, yeah, but I'm playing all these different positions, and I can do this in the big leagues. I can help you win games in the big leagues. I finally stood up and said something after 7 years of just kind of staying in my lane, keeping my head down and grinding. And 2 days later, I get called into the office, and I was a snapper. Like, and for people listening, like when I made an out, I broke stuff. And I would break chairs. It was the chair's fault. It was the helmet's fault. It was the bat's fault. And we had this long tunnel in Ottawa back to the clubhouse. And I was running out of things to break because I was scuffling at the time. And it wasn't like if I just made it out, I did that. It was when I was really scuffling. I was scuffling at this time. And I go up to our minor league director and say, I'm ready for the big leagues. Anyways, so that night, the night before I go, and there's lights in the tunnel. And I'm like, oh, I haven't thought about breaking the lights yet. So I take the bats to the lights in the tunnel. So they call me in after the game and they're like, hey, enough of this breaking stuff. My minor league director's sitting there. My manager, Pete McKenna's sitting there. Like, we can't fine you anymore. Like, you're not making enough money. You're a grown man. He goes, we're going to make you like sign autographs before the game. And for a week straight, you're going to get out there early for a 7:00 game. I want you out there at 6:45. And for 15 minutes, you're going to sign autographs before the game. And he goes, and I'm going to be in town for a week. This is the minor league director, Bill Glavine, talking. And I'm going to make sure that you sign these legibly, that you didn't just chicken scratch these autographs. Like, so this is your punishment because we're running out of things to fine you for, or we don't want to fine you anymore. So I go, Billy, come on, don't treat me like a kid. I mean, I'm 27 years old. Like, I've been in AAA for 4 years. Just take my money. I'm not going to do that. He goes, we're going to be signing autographs in Montreal tomorrow, so I want you to get there early and sign out. And I went, Montreal? You know, with the Expos organization, obviously. And he goes, yeah, you're going to sign autographs in Montreal tomorrow. You're going to the big leagues. And it didn't like click for a second. It kind of went around the room and came back. And then Pete McKenna's over there going like this, like a little kid, like you're going to the big leagues. And now, like looking back at it, I see these guys that play 7, 8 years in the minors, and we all root for them when they come to the big leagues. So these guys were rooting for me. And I broke down, started crying. My mom and dad, my wife at the time, my kid, my grandmother, my aunt and uncle were all in town to watch AAA baseball. And I'm taking forever in the clubhouse after the game. So I go out in the clubhouse and I just come around the corner, and I've played with my teammates for 7 years in the minors. In the minor leagues, for those that don't know, you're really close, man. You're making no money. You're poor together. You're rooming together. You're just, it's a lot more tight knit than the big leagues, because big leagues, you're making money. Everyone's got mansions here, cars here. But we all did this together. And so we were all real close in the Expos organization. And I came around the corner from the office, and I was in there for like 20 minutes. And I just looked at the guys, and they looked at me, and they knew without saying a word. They knew I was getting called up to the big leagues. And they were like, no effing way. And they like shaking up beers, pouring them all over me. And then the last thing Bill Glavine said to me is like, get there early tomorrow. It'll look good if you get there early. So Ottawa from Montreal's an hour and a half drive. It was a 7:30 game, and I got there at noon. I got in my car and drove to Montreal. The clubhouse was locked, and knocked on the door. There was a speaker next to it, and some French guy was a French Canadian guy was on there, and he had an accent. And I said, the clubhouse is locked. And he goes, da, da, da. So he sent down Bill Stoneman, who was the president of the Expos and became the president of the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. And he comes down to open the clubhouse door, and he goes, congratulations, FP. We're all rooting for you. He goes, don't you think you're a little early? And then I say, just off the top of my head, I said, I've been waiting my whole life for this. There's no such thing as early. And he opened the clubhouse door, and I walk in. There's my jersey hanging in my locker. And then Felipe Alou, my manager, walks in, and I'm the only guy in the locker room. He goes, Frankie, congratulations. We're so happy for you. The story is he goes back to his office, and he puts my name in the 8th spot in the order, back when the pitchers used to hit. So he put this was supposed to be a 3-day call-up, throw him a bone. He's a loyal minor leaguer. And because I got there early, Felipe told Bill, he showed Bill Glavine, he goes, look at who I'm playing tonight. And Bill goes, wait, this is just supposed to be like a bench thing. Maybe get him an at-bat. And he goes, he's here at noon. He's more ready than any guy I got on my team. He's playing tonight. Just because I got there early.
Holy cow.
So I get 2 hits. I get triple my second time up right-handed. I get a base hit left-handed. I think I'm one of only a couple of guys in the history of Major League Baseball to get hits from both sides of the plate in their debut. And then, so that's the story of me getting called up after 7 years of playing minor league baseball. And then I never went back. At the end, a little bit in AAA, but like everybody does. But yeah, I spent 7 years in the big leagues after that.
That's amazing. I never knew that story. That's phenomenal. What'd your parents say?
Well, they're crying. We're an emotional Italian family. I came out, they were crying. And it was in the old days when I ran out to left field, they played both national anthems, the Canadian and the American, but while you were on the field, it wasn't like top step of the dugout thing. So I ran out to left, I'm starting in left field. My legs are shaking. I guess my mom says she was in tears both anthems. I grounded out to third my first at bat, hit it pretty good. And they called my name. I'm in the box, Justin, and my back leg was shaking, man. Like I felt like everybody could see my back leg shaking. I was so nervous. And then I tripled my next time up and a base hit my third time up. I was 2 for 3, and I never went back.
And your average was never that good again.
No.
667.
No, I think I hit like almost 300 my first little stint, my first year. Then I almost won Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, you were fourth,
My
right?
my second year, yeah, with no publicity. Like we're in Montreal and we were never on TV. Yeah, it was great. My junior college coach, Jerry Weinstein, who's one of the biggest influences in my life, period, called me to congratulate me, and he said, "You're playing with house money. Go have fun." And that phrase just stuck in my head, and it helped me relax. And he goes, "This is all a bonus, man." He goes, "You put the hay in the barn. You spent 7 years in the minors. You're playing with house money." And yeah, I had that attitude. And the guys in the locker room, Justin, were like, "Who'd you punch in the minor leagues?" Like, because I was getting I got 2 hits the first night. I faced Doug Drabek and got 3 hits. I got 3 hits off of Glavine. I'm getting hits off of all these A-listers every night. I'm just getting base hits. And these guys are like, "Wait, you spent 7 years in the minors?" So yeah, that's my story.
Okay, so you spent 7 years in the minors, a lot of time with the Montreal Expos organization. Those guys on that Expos team, they had all those guys come through. So I would fathom that you knew those players on the team before you got into that clubhouse.
That's a great question and a great point. And a lot of organizations don't, but like getting back to how close we were, when I walked into a major league clubhouse for the first time, I knew everybody. They were all my friends. It wasn't like, oh, there's Daryl Strawberry or there's Greg Maddux or they were all my buddies. So they took me in immediately, and that part, that part was really cool.
Who was the first guy to like welcome you, like just so excited to see you there in the major league clubhouse?
Tim Laker is one of my best friends, and he was there, and he was my roommate in the minor leagues for a long time. And yeah, it's just surreal. Plus, they have my number. Like number 7 is my number, and that was hanging up in the locker with my name on it. It was just like out of a movie. You're walking in the clubhouse and you see your number and your jersey hanging up, and you're just like, yeah, it was really special.
You got there so early for your first major league game. You didn't know you were going to play. Like you said, Felipe Alou put you in. How hard was it to get there at 12 or 12:30 and wait for that 7 o'clock game? I mean, you got to be just so anxious.
Well, that getting there early was a curse for my kids because I got there early, they put me in the starting lineup and I stayed 7 years. So when my kids played soccer or baseball, we were the first ones there every game. I'm like, "It looks like you're ready." It may be at 7 in the morning and the fog's coming off the soccer field, and my daughter and I are in the car, and she's like 11, and she's like, "Dad, there's nobody here yet." I'm like, "Yeah, but it looks good. Your coach is going to know you're ready." And then same with my son. We would get to his little league games before anybody. So and in my life too, I'm early to everything. I'm on time. I think respecting somebody else's time is a valuable thing. If you're constantly late and you say you're late and you're like, "Oh, I'm just late to everything," that's BS, man. Because other people's time is valuable and it's a form of disrespect. So even today, I came on here at 12:29 to do this with you, and it took me 2 minutes to get to on and download the app and do all that. So it was 12:31 when I clicked on and you said we want to do this 12. That gave me anxiety. I'm an early guy to everything in my life, and I think it's a form of showing you're ready, showing respect for whoever you're meeting or whatever you're doing. And maybe I've become a little OCD with it over the years, but it all goes back to baseball. If you're not early, you're late. If you're not 10 minutes early, you're late. And then that one day in my major league debut when I got there at 12, who knows, Justin, if I get there at 3 o'clock.
Right.
I don't play that day. Maybe it is a 4-day call up. Maybe I get one pinch hit and ground out to second, and I go right back to AAA. But in my mind, the way I look at it, I got there at noon for a 7:30 game, and I spent 7 years in the big leagues.
It is such a great story. It's such a great lesson for people, not just young people, but people of our age. And look, you need to respect other people's time. You never know who's watching. You never know who's paying attention when you think you're all alone. Were you always someone who got there early, or was that the day that things changed in your life?
I was always an early guy, but not like that. If say stretch was at noon, I would get there like at 11:50. But I'm big into mental health. I talk to people all the time. I think everybody should. And I've been to these classes where time has been one of the most important topics, where I learned about, people, I'm just late to everything. You can change that. It's just an attitude. It's just effort. And I went to one of these things, and you're not supposed to tell the stories, but a certain person in this class, it ended their marriage because they were consistently late. And they were just like, oh, I'm late all the time. I'm always late. I'm just late. That's just who I am. I have friends like that. I've dated people like that, where they're just like a half hour, 45 minutes, an hour late consistently. And they're like, that's just who I am. You can change that, man. It's not that hard. And it's just a mindset and an attitude. And to me, it's a selfish attitude when you just think you can get there whenever you want. That tells a lot about the person. Like, I'm going to get there 15 minutes late, and everybody will be okay with it because it's me.
Yeah.
It's a selfish attitude. And if you're empathetic and you're really thinking about other people and you care about other people, it sounds so silly, right? It's just time. It's just getting somewhere on time. But it says so much more. And if you care about other people and you care about what you do for a living and getting to work on time, meeting somebody for coffee, whatever it is, and if you care about that, then you're going to show respect for that, and you're going to be there either early or on time.
And it's first impressions. First impressions mean something.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I made a good first impression, and I played a long time in the major leagues.
All right, talk to me about that Expos team. First of all, people don't realize the talent that was on those Expos teams. I mean, it was ridiculous. You had a young Pedro Martinez, a young Vladimir Guerrero, Jose Vidro. I think Larry Walker was on those teams. I mean, this is like ridiculous who came through that organization. So what was it like being around these guys all the time?
Well, it sucked at first, Justin, because that's why I spent 7 years in the minor leagues. There was nowhere to go, man. Marquise Grissom's playing center field, Larry Walker's in right, and Moises Alou's in left, and I was a utility player, and a young kid named Will Cordero was a real big prospect, and he was playing shortstop, and Delino DeShields was at second base, like almost rookie of the year, and I mean, and then so there's nowhere to go. You're hitting 270, 280 in the minors, and like there was nowhere to go. And I still felt like I could have been a bench player on those teams with the strike year in '94, when they had the best record in baseball. When the strike happened, I think they were like 30 games over 500, with the young Pedro Martinez and Ken Hill and John Wetland. I mean, there's just so many names that were so good. So there was nowhere to go. But then you get there and you play with these guys, and the Expos were a lot like the Oakland A's. They didn't have the finances, the means, or maybe the desire to keep their players. So we were the farm system for the rest of the big leagues. When Larry Walker got good, he went to the Rockies. When Marquise Grissom came up for his contract, he went to the Atlanta Braves. When Moises Alou, he went to the Cubs. And when Pedro, he went to the Red Sox. And it's just kind of how it went. But it's so fun playing with those guys. And Pedro Martinez is probably one of the best teammates I ever had. We had the same model bat, but his name was on his bat, my name was on my bat. And I said, Petey, can I use your bat? Mine suck. Do yours have hits in them? And he's like, yeah. And I got 3 hits with his bat one day. So we changed bats. So you see Pedro Martinez cards with my bat, and
No
you'll
way.
see my cards with Pedro Martinez bat. So for a whole year, we just switched our bats, and I used his bat every at bat. But he was a great teammate. Give you his shirt off his back. The funnest guy in the clubhouse for 4 days. And then that
Really?
5th day, he just locked in, and he was just a beast on the mound. I mean, yeah, he's screwing around, practical jokes, laughing, just a clown in the clubhouse. And then on that 5th day, you better watch out. Yeah. And I was with him his first Cy Young. I played center field mostly that year behind him for his first Cy Young. And I think anybody that's ever played behind a Cy Young Award winner takes pride in the fact that, hopefully in some way I ran down a ball somewhere, helped him get that award.
If I'm not mistaken, that year he had like a sub-2 ERA. He had like 13 or 14 complete games. I mean, he's this young stud. Did you know at that time that this dude is going to be one of the greatest pitchers of all time?
I knew he was. one of the greatest pitchers in the game at that time. I didn't know about the legacy or how long he was going to last and longevity and what he was going to do in Boston when he got there, but I just knew that he was dirty, filthy, and rotten. And we had trouble scoring for him. We did that year. He didn't have that many wins in his first Cy Young because when you have an ace, the other guy pitching against him always raises his level. Like I'm pitching against Pedro Martinez tonight. And then on top of that, we're like Pedro's pitching. It's all we need to do is get him 1 or 2 runs. And then you put pressure on yourself as a team. So you have maybe a third or fourth starter from another team saying, I'm going to lock in tonight. So he's given us all his best bolts every single pitch. And then we're trying so hard. And it got to a point where he would kind of like look at us on the bench. Like it got frustrating for him, like 4 or 5 starts for not scoring runs. And finally, he's one of my friends. I'm like, hey, you're hitting ninth. You got a bat. Do something. Like if you want some runs, drive them in yourself. Like this when the pitcher hit. And it kind of loosened everybody up. Yeah, it was fun to play behind him. He's a dear friend, man. Whenever I see him, he's like one of those guys where no time has passed.
Was that the year that he had like a perfect game through 9, but the game went 10 innings and he lost it in the 10th?
I was in AAA. That was 94.
Okay.
It was in San Diego against the Padres. Yeah.
That's
he's just,
fair.
yeah, he's first ballot. I mean, he's the best.
It's funny because a lot of people have this conversation. If you had one game from 19, let's say 90 through the current day to win a game, who would you pick to be your pitcher? Would it be Pedro?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't even have to think about that. And I play with some pretty damn good pitchers, Kevin Brown and with some good pitchers on the Giants. Kurt Reeder comes to mind, and you wouldn't think that. He'd be a close second to Pedro because just a competitor. I mean, he found a way to beat you every single time. But if I needed to win like a game 7 for the World Series, it would definitely be Pedro.
Okay, so I'm going to fast forward, and then I'll come back. You mentioned game 7 of the World Series. 2019, you're the TV color commentator for the Washington Nationals, and they win the World Series in game 7 on the road in Houston. What was that entire journey like for you from a broadcast perspective and from a fan perspective?
Great question. Anything I've ever done in my life, I have to be fully invested to be half decent at it. I have to be all in. And you get invested, as you know, when you travel with a team and you're with a team. And my first couple of years as the broadcaster in DC, I would come back to California in the off season. And I just didn't feel like I was part of the community or part of the culture there in the DMV. So I made a pact with myself to live in Washington and to move there so that I could be more invested and part of the community and understand what at that time the Redskins fans were feeling and the Wizards fans and the Caps fans, and just to get to know the region and the fan base and to go out and drink beers with them and to get to know them. And my whole thing was like, I loved how Harry Carey did it in Chicago, how he's part of the community and he'd go out and he'd drink with the fans after and just become one of them. And I always thought that as broadcasters, we're the voice of the summer to the fans, but we're also a fan in the booth. So I got accused of being a homer a lot, which when I first started broadcasting, Dwayne Kuiper, who's my hero in broadcasting, the Giants play-by-play man, said, remember how hard it is. Never forget how hard the game is. So it's easy to get up there when you played and now look at the game from a different level and say, oh, what is he doing? This guy sucks. But you got to remember that the game moves fast and it's going fast and it's hard. Baseball's really hard. So I found ways to like cover for players and to always be cognizant of how hard the game was. That said, you know, being the broadcaster for the Nats in 2012, they went to the playoffs. They had a heartbreak game 5 against the Cardinals. 14, the Giants beat them on a home run, Brandon Belt. So they had all these really good teams. The Cubs series, I think Strasburg got sick or something, and the Cubs beat them in game, whatever it was. There was a lot of great teams there and a lot of heartbreak. So now living in the region, I kind of felt like a fan and I knew what they were feeling. And being with these guys every day and in the clubhouse and on the bus and on the plane, you get to know their aunts, their uncles, their parents, their brothers, their sisters, their wives, their kids. You're invested, man. If you're a half decent broadcaster and you care a little bit, you're invested. Like you feel like you're part of the team. Whether ownership or not makes you feel like you're part of the team, which wasn't the case in DC. You feel yourself like you're part of the team. So when they got to the World Series in 2019, they finally got through the Juan Soto wild card game where it was, I think Ken Rosenthal called it an exorcism when the ball, Trent Grisham missed the ball and left and Anthony Rendon scored and everybody in the outfield was throwing beer up in the stands and it was a scene and we were all losing our minds. They got through the wild card. And then they had never gotten past the DS, the division series. And then in game 5, Howie Kendrick hits the grand slam at Dodger Stadium and they exorcised that demon. So, I mean, I'm in the clubhouse. We're pouring champagne. I mean, Bob Carpenter is my partner. He's actually doing his job and doing interviews in the clubhouse. And I'm pouring champagne and running around and guys are pouring champagne on me. And, so yeah, it was cool. And you know, you get to know like all of these guys intimately, like like what makes them tick. Can you talk to him today? Do you stay away from him today? And Adam Eaton, I'll never forget. There was an article in the LA Times before Game 5 by Bill Platsky, and it said, "This is the same Nationals team as last year, basically, and they're going to do the same the years before, and they're going to choke today, and the Dodgers should crush them." And I sent him the link to that. And he showed everybody on the team. And then they're celebrating on the field after game 5. And he goes, same team. And like Adam Eaton came over, same team, right? FP. He goes, F these guys. Like, so that's how invested you get. So after game 7, long answer to your question, I'm sitting in a tunnel and I'm walking the field, first of all, in my suit. And I'm from the hotel and I'm like, game 7 of the World Series. Never went there as a player, but this is really cool. And if you'd have told me the Nats would have been in game 7 in spring training of the World Series, like, let's go, baby. And, we watched the game. We watched it unfold. Howie hits the ball off the foul pole. I'm in the stands with the team physicians and all the wives and I'm jumping and we're hugging and I almost blacked out. And like have you ever screamed so loud that you just get dizzy and you feel like you're going down? I almost did. And then Bob and I had to get in line with all the other broadcasters to go on the field for the post-game interviews in the tunnel of the field. So we're like 80th in line. It's game 7. Tom, Dick, and Harry reporter in the world is there. And I go, Carp, here are the broadcasters for the team. I said, F this. We're going to the front. And he goes, we are? I'm like, yeah. And so I just started going through all this massive humanity in this skinny tunnel right to the front. I'm like, well, you've been the broadcaster for the team for 15 years. I've been the broadcaster for the team for 9 years. We're going to be the first ones on the field. And so it was Ken Rosenthal, Buster Olney, and Bob and I. So we saw the last out. The gates open up. We go on the field. And Bob's, once again, doing his job because he's the best professional. He's interviewing guys. I'm running around like Jim Valvano, like hugging wives, hugging coaches, hugging kids. I see Max Scherzer. He sees me. I'll never forget this, bro. He runs over and he goes, yeah. And he picks me up and he starts spinning me in circles on the field. So like when you think, oh, we're just the broadcasters, like these guys, they respect what we do for a living. And you become part of it. So yeah, it was really cool. The celebration was cool. Go in the clubhouse. Anthony Rendon and I had a special moment because we all knew he wasn't coming back. And so we had a sip of champagne together and, it was cool, man. I'll never forget it. That's one of the greatest things I've ever been associated with in baseball, on or off the field. It was special.
And if I'm not mistaken, that party lasted a good month or so.
It did. It did. I mean, personally, yes. I can't speak for everyone involved in the party, but in the organization. But yeah, it was one after another, and the parade was special. And I was pissed because they made us like broadcast the parade. Like 99% of broadcasters actually have a float in the parade and can see the mass of humanity, but we had to like put. Anyways, it was still great.
I thought in the parade, what was great was when Mike Rizzo took the trophy and just started walking around to the fans. I was like, God, this is so cool. This is awesome.
Winning at the highest level is the greatest thing ever.
And
People don't realize it's like, winning one game is a big deal. That's why they have celebrations in the clubhouse in baseball just to win one game. That's hard. So when you play for 7 months and win it all, you deserve to party.
The For me, Game 7 was the Wizards' home opener that year, my first year in DC. And the Wizards were playing the Houston Rockets. So again, Houston, DC, baseball and basketball. And I can remember behind me, the luxury box, they had the Nats game on, the World Series. Obviously, it's Game 7. And when Howie Kendrick hit the home run, I was broadcasting and I heard this noise. And I'm like, I think something just happened in the game. And next thing you know, they put it up on the Jumbotron. Bradley Beal looked up and he was like, and it was like he stopped playing to see what was going on. The place erupts, goes nuts. And in that game, it was like 160 to 159. It was a ridiculous game. And all I can remember was going out afterwards and celebrating the fact that the Nats had just won the World Series. I just got there and I was actually thinking about you. I was like, dude, FP must be having a blast. My brother-in-law was there. He went to the hotel. He saw you. He saw a bunch of people. He was like, this is the greatest night of my life.
Dude, there was a 4 seasons in Houston, and they suck. They closed the bar at midnight. So all the families, the whole team's in there. We're trying to celebrate, and they closed the bar at midnight, and we got back to the hotel at like 11.
Yeah.
And I guess there's some ordinance, or they were sour or bitter, but that place sucked, man. We were all mad. The players were mad, like because they just won the World Series, and they wanted to like the flight was leaving the next morning, and so there was the party was short, but it was fun.
Yeah. All right. Let's go back to the playing days. We'll bounce back and forth. We talked about Pedro, and you played behind him. If you were in center field, you played next to Vladimir Guerrero. Vlad was just different. Like cannon for an arm, could hit the ball wherever it was thrown. What was it like to see him up close?
He got called up when he was 19, and early in Vladimir Guerrero's career, he didn't know how to play unless he was 100%. He didn't play every day. He would always have something going on. And I think to his credit, he learned as he went that it's okay to play through a little ding here or a little ding there and to grind it out. But early on, like his rookie year, he was missing games a lot. I remember Lee Smith, great closer. We were on the plane. He's like, FP, you're going to get 400 at-bats playing behind Vladimir Guerrero. And so it was something that he learned throughout his career that he got tougher. Like I don't have to be 100% every day. And we got to watch this kid just go up there and hit anything above his head on a hop, 5 feet outside. And the story I always tell about Vladdy, great guy, smile on his face every day. We loved him. I mean, his kid was in the clubhouse eating ice cream every night. Now he's just signed for $500 million. But Vladdy would use a different bat almost every time. I used to say Vladimir Guerrero's playing wiffle ball in his backyard, and we're all playing Major League Baseball. He would grab a bat out of the back rack and just go like this, look whose name it was, didn't speak English, and look down the bench and be like, can I use it? Like this, shake it out of it. Yeah. You know, if they grab mine one time, he's like, yeah. Grab a different bat every at bat. Like this was when I played with him for 3.5 years. So early on in his career, when he was an Expo, he would just grab one and feel it and go, ooh, I like the way this one feels, and just use other guys' bats. You never did that. Like I used Pedro's bat because I asked him if it was okay, and then I got hits. And he's like, yeah, you can take them, but like in the heat of battle, like your bat is your bat.
Yeah.
Like you just don't grab somebody's gamer and go up to the plate with it. Like that's not cool. But Vladdy did. He kind of asked permission with like a look. But yeah, there was times I think when guys were pissed that he was using their bat, but he always got hits with it.
Getting this flash, like this image in my head that Vlad Guerrero at that time was like the actual Pedro Serrano. Like hats for bats. Keep bats warm.
A lot better than Pedro Serrano. Yeah.
What about the arm of Vladimir Guerrero? I mean, to see that thing was a rifle.
It was a rifle, Justin, but it was wildly erratic early in his career. Like, I remember in Pittsburgh, in the old Three Rivers Stadium, the dugouts were up the baseline. And there was a game-winning situation. He was in right field. It was a walk-off hit, and he came up throwing, and we all dove for cover in the dugout because the ball, like, hit the back of the dugout, and the game was over. I mean, as you'd imagine, when he was 19, 20, and 20, he didn't know where it was going. He didn't. We used to joke that all the third base coaches was like, whoa, 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 that's Vladimir Guerrero out there. But we said we would send him because he didn't know where it was going. He'd come up all elbows and kneecaps and just let it rip and never anywhere near the target. Was it a cannon? Yeah, maybe one of the better arms I've ever seen in my life. Like, I bet you with the StatCast here, it was 95 miles an hour if it was 1 mile an hour. But then he harnessed that. The whole evolution of Vladimir Guerrero, the Hall of Famer, was he was a guy that came up that had just talent off the charts, great bad ball hitter, didn't early on know how to play through pain, didn't early on know where the ball was going when he threw it, and then harnessed all of this together and formed one of the greatest careers ever.
Just a stud, and he also has, like you said, a son who has turned into one heck of a baseball player, and like you said, signed for $500 million. The good news is, I don't think Vlad Guerrero has to pay for his son's rent or anything anymore.
Yeah, and the other takeaway from that is my son sucks.
Well, is it your son's fault or is it your fault?
My fault.
Because your son also is like a clone of you.
He's the greatest kid ever. I'm blessed to have a kid like that. He's the best. But 500 million would have been great.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
It would have been a nice gift for you. You know, it's like all the work that you put in, all those early hours of the Little League field, like he could have repaid it somehow, some way.
Maybe I should have took him a little later to those games.
Hey, what was it like playing in Montreal? Because obviously for me, I love the city of Montreal, and I hope baseball goes back there one day. But you got the chance to play there, and there weren't a lot of fans, but the city itself playing there.
I just went back for the first time in 25 years. I did an autograph thing to raise money for a children's wing of a hospital, and they flew me up this past December, and it was weird. It was surreal. 25 years is a long time not to be in a place. It wasn't as vibrant and exciting as I remember, but it's still Montreal. It's still a great city, but we loved it, Justin. Oh my gosh, what a great place to break into the big leagues. Not a big media market. We had like 2 beat writers. So you got to be yourself. You got to go out at night and not get mobbed. But I'll tell you this, Expos fans going down the street knew your batting average, knew what place the team was in, knew they won 7 of the last 10. They knew everything. They were great fans. They just got sick of losing their best players every year. They got sick of they get 2 months of summer going into an indoor dome stadium when it's a nice day out. But the city itself, oh my gosh, the best. I lived downtown for 4 years.
Wow.
And I used to tell rookies, be careful, man. This town will eat you up. It closes at 4 a.m. Be careful. Like you'll be back in AAA before you know it if you don't have any self-discipline. Because there was a lot of potential distractions in that town. Great nightlife, great restaurants, great bars, great everything.
Who was the rookie? Who was the young guy that you took under your wing that you really mentored?
We tried to take Brad Fulmer under our wing, and he was a big prospect and came up and, hey, he was the last guy on the bus. You can't be the last guy on the bus. You can't do this. You can't do that. But you can take a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. And that just never clicked for him up there. And I think there was a lot of guys like Brad, who was just a wonderful human being, still is, that town's a lot. It's almost like getting called up to New York.
Yeah.
It is with the opportunities off the field. Yeah.
They actually make the point that it's worse than getting called up in New York, because in New York, you got so much media around.
True.
But in Montreal, like you said, you had 2 beat writers. Nobody was out there trying to take your picture or anything. They were out there to have fun with you. Whereas in New York, it's, haha, gotcha.
Yeah, there's no page 6 in Montreal, so that is a good point. You have a little more free reign to do what you want. Even if you're the 25th, 26th guy on the roster for the Yankees, if you go to a restaurant, everybody knows who you are.
Right. All right. So speaking of the Yankees, 2001, you appear in the playoffs for the only time in your career when you're with the Oakland A's. This is post 9/11. And I was actually working those games, doing stats for Fox. I know how emotional it was for me being there. What was it for a player to be in New York in the playoffs post 9/11?
It was unbelievable. And we all felt like we had a certain responsibility to get the world back to normal. And you remember Mike Piazza's home run with the Mets, and that was the first game back. that was, I mean, we were all just so emotional. This country was hurt.
Yeah.
Like we were hurt big time. And New York and DC were hurt the most. Um, so I remember a plane landing at LaGuardia and seeing the smoke coming up from ground zero still. This is October, early October, after September 11th. Um, and so a lot of the guys went to the big boys like Giambi and Damon. They went to some firehouses to visit guys, and that was part of it. But game one of the American League Division Series, we were all introduced, and we all had FDNY, Port Authority, NYPD hats on. And so we're out on the third base line. The Yankees get introduced. Bob Shepard was still the PA guy for the Yankees, legendary public address announcer. And then all of a sudden the semicircle behind home plate.
Mm-hmm.
It's Port Authority, NYPD, and then the last three guys are straight from ground zero. They're firefighters, and they're in their dusty whole outfits, and they're covered in dust. Paul O'Neill comes out and hugs him. Joe Torre comes out. There's not a dry eye in the house. It's my first ever major league playoff game, and I'm crying on the third baseline. And then the Eagle comes in with the game ball, and they unfurl the flag in center field, and it's from the World Trade Center. It's all half ripped up and shredded, and they pull it up, and yeah, it was an emotional time. So we play that series and the Derek Jeter flip game and the whole thing, and I made a huge error in game 4. I made 2 errors all season. One in AAA, I got called up halfway through the year, and then one in the majors. I made 18 errors my whole career in 7 years in the big. I didn't make errors. I could catch the baseball. And I got caught up in a playoff game, and I sat on the ground ball at second and went through my legs. Would have been a double play ball to end the inning. The Yankees score 4 runs. We got to fly back for game 5. So that was a tough one to swallow. And I waited my whole life, my first ever playoff game, starting. So then we had to fly back to New York and play game 5. They beat us. It was a wild scene. There was 50,000 in Yankee Stadium, and I knew that was my last game in the big leagues. I knew I was 36. So they won, and I sat in the dugout for 20 minutes, and I watched the New York Yankees fans go nuts. I watched the upper deck kind of bounce as it did in Old Yankee Stadium, and it was the first time in my life that I had peace with losing. And I was a terrible loser, dude. Back to breaking shit in the tunnel. But I sat there for 20 minutes. I'm like, these people need this more than I needed this win, just to heal from what they were going through and what our whole country was going through. And I was okay with it. And then this story, I just remembered this the other day. We're driving to Yankee Stadium. We just came from Yankee Stadium to here. I'm in Philadelphia right now. We're going to the airport after game 5. There's 3 buses. In the playoffs, there's all kinds of buses because family's there. We get halfway to Newark. I think we're flying out of Newark back to Oakland. And somebody on the bus goes, "Who's that? Who's that? Who's that guy?" We had a stowaway on the team bus. This is after 9/11.
What?
Like a month after 9/11, we have some rando on our bus. So all 3 buses pull over to the shoulder on the freeway. Cops everywhere. They take out all our luggage from under the bus and put it on the side of the road. They handcuff this guy. We didn't know if he was a terrorist. We didn't know. The country was paranoid at that time, and justifiably so. So they arrested this guy that was on the Oakland A's team bus, going to the airport. Just walked on the bus. We had to see if there was a bomb on but we didn't know. You just didn't know. The security for that series, behind the scenes, was insane for the players, for the families, police escorts, cops. I mean, it was nuts. And you're thinking 24 years later, oh, that's kind of a cute story. That's funny. But in 2001, a month after the planes hit the buildings, to have a random guy on a team bus, that was nuts. We were all freaking out.
Was there anybody on that team who stood up and was like, "I'm going to kick this guy's ass"?
I think so. I can't remember, but I think so. I think it was, I don't want to say it was Frank Menachino, but it might have been Frank Menachino.
By the way, I never knew about the temper that you had. Now I know why we're such good friends. I mean, the fact that
it's a baseball temper, though. I never get mad. I'm the most easygoing guy in the world.
That's why I'm sitting here going oh my gosh, where'd this come from?
Only on the baseball field. I don't get mad at anything off the field. It was just, you work so hard every day to get a hit, and you go up there and you fail, and it's embarrassing. You're like, but yeah, and that temper came out 2 or 3 times a year. But like off the field though, ask anybody. I'm the most chill dude ever. It's like maybe it was my alter ego personality. Like you're a superhero Clark Kent, and then you go into the game and you're just snapper man.
Most mad you've ever been at yourself on a ball field?
Well, I don't remember. I know I struck out 3 times in Dodger Stadium as a Dodger with the bases loaded, all 3 times. And I got booed off the field in Dodger Stadium. So yeah, and that was a rough night.
What'd you break?
I didn't. You know how I knew the end was near, Justin? I started feeling sorry for myself. I go sit
Really?
on the bench and feel sorry for myself, and I didn't snap anymore. I remember Felipe Alou saying, once you stop that, if you're a guy that's an emotional player and you lose that emotion, that the end is near. And he was talking about somebody else years earlier, and I remember just like feeling sorry for myself as a Dodger, and I'm like the fire was gone. Instead of being pissed, I was like, I suck. So yeah, that's when I played in Oakland the next year and then retired.
You've talked to me about Felipe Alou being a huge impact on you. Why? What did he do? Besides put you in the 8th hole that first game.
He was my manager in A-ball for 2 years. And he taught me more about being a man than being a baseball player, and about accountability and honesty and what it takes to be a professional on and off the field. And he was just a tremendous influence in my life, period. I forget the saying, like a good coach makes a guy a better player, a great coach makes a guy a better person, something like that. Yeah, and he was all about being a man and being fearless and approaching the game with a fearless mentality. Because a lot of players are scared, man. They're scared to throw a strike. They're scared to make an out on the bases. They're scared to make an error. And Felipe was all about like just being a man and being fearless. And you can teach that to some, but mostly you just have it. So, and then to be honest and accountable and to own things, and then to play the game with respect and dignity and pride, and how it's a privilege to be a professional baseball player. And I played that way, and he loved me. Everyone would tease me that you're his favorite player in A-ball. And then fast forward, he's the manager in the big leagues. I'm stuck in the big leagues, and he calls me up.
It's awesome to hear that kind of a story. I'm just wondering, his son, Moises Alou, was there. And what did you see that from Moises?
I did. Moises is a true pro, man. One of the best players I ever played with. Felipe was harder on Moises than everybody else. He was. It's like the father coaching the son. It doesn't change just because it's the big leagues. He wasn't terribly hard on him, but he was, he was swinging a curveball in the dirt, and he'd look at the bench, and Felipe would go, "What does he think? You going to throw him a fastball there?" Stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, they had a loving relationship, but it was like any father-son relationship. Like people think like because it's the big leagues, it's different. I mean, anybody that's ever coached their son, whether it's a mother or a father, knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Did you ever get a chance to coach your son?
Or coach their daughter too, for that
Right.
matter. I did, and I wasn't good at it. I did. I had a rule with my buddy: you coach my son, I'll coach your son, because I can't coach my son. Baseball coaching at the younger levels was not good for me, Justin, because when you do it for a living and you get to the ballpark at noon and you leave at midnight every day, like I have X-ray vision on a baseball field. Like even just the way your head's cocked right now, I would know that meant something. You know what I mean? Like you see body language, you see fake tough, fake confidence, real tough. Like I just jogging out to your position versus sprinting, walking out to I just saw too much. I would love to get it back into coaching someday at the major league level, but like coaching youth baseball and your own son was hard to me because I saw everything.
Right. Okay, so with that said, one of the great things about baseball is being able to decipher, pick up signs, decipher signs, pick up a tell. What was something that you were able to do that helped you or helped your team in a game or in a series?
I can't remember like one instance, but I was the guy on the bench that always found if something was going on, tipping pitches, and I would just say, "Got him," and guys would come over and say, "What do you got?" And whether it's a deep breath on an off-speed pitch because they want a looser grip, whether it's the glove angles here on one pitch and here on another pitch, whether they come set here, Or they go into their glove here on off speed because they need time to change their grip, or they go in here on a fastball because they don't need to change their grip. I would just sit there and watch. And you pick up a towel and you let your guys know any kind of advantage you can get at the highest level with the best players playing against each other is a big advantage. Some guys want to know, some guys didn't want to know. Some guys would know what was coming based on somebody found something, and they would just swing because they knew it was coming. So, it's a fastball and it's up here, and they swing so once you know what's coming, the art is to control the breathing and to stay with your game plan. I know a fastball is coming, but I'm still looking for it away, and I'm going to drive it through the shortstop's chest. But so you take what you see, now you know it's coming, and you got to be disciplined enough to stay with your plan or your approach at the plate once you know it's coming. Some guys couldn't do that. They get so anxious and happy that they knew it was coming, they'd swing. And then they didn't want to know.
Right.
And they just wanted to be reactionary.
From a broadcaster's perspective, how quickly can you pick something up?
Same. Once you see it, you see it. I texted the Nationals clubhouse a bunch, like when I was the broadcaster, about things I was picking up, other players relaying signs, other players stealing signs. Every now and then I would. I shouldn't say a bunch, a handful of times in 10 years, 11 years. But yeah, I still see it. I still see it every night. And when you're part of the organization, getting back to being invested, you want your organization to win. It makes your job easier. So if you see things, you see things. But now that this was, 10 years ago, now they have 15 guys in the clubhouse. Like the analytics team, they look for those things. They don't need some dumbass broadcaster with makeup on looking for tips.
Yes and no, because what I would say is my comeback to that would just be you played. You were in it. You were in that arena. You had that skill set to do it. A lot of the analytics guys were not former major leaguers, didn't get to that level. And so they don't have the ability that you have.
And when you know what to look for, you see it, you can't unsee it. Like it's just there. You're like, there it is. And then maybe your own guys are doing it too. And you can help them out a little bit. So yeah.
Dude, I love to end each podcast with a segment I call This Just In, and it's rapid fire questions. So I'm going to throw a question at you, and I just want to know, your true feelings. Favorite ballpark to ever play in?
Wrigley Field. You can spread my ashes there if you want. It's the best. And unequivocally, it's easily the best.
What's it like being an outfielder playing at Wrigley?
There's a big party going on with a baseball game in the middle. And during pitching changes on a summer day, let's just say you're not watching the reliever warm up.
Fair enough. I can read between the lines. Craziest teammate you've ever had?
It had to be in Oakland. That was a circus. We won 102 games, but that was a circus. I'd say the craziest, hell, I don't know. They all were. I'd say Frank Menachino.
What was that Oakland team like?
Motley Crue meets baseball. Like it was like a rock and roll band that won 102 games. If I could write a best-selling book if I would name names and tell stories about that team. We were out till 3 a.m. every night, but it was
Really?
18 guys together every night, 18, 19 guys. Never seen anything like it. All at the same bar, all at the same restaurant, all at the same club. I've never been with a more close-knit group, and we had fun.
Jason
Yeah,
Giambi was the leader of that, right?
he was the ringleader. He called it the bobsled to hell, and he'd ask who's jumping on the bobsled with him every night.
So good.
Yeah.
Superstitions. What were they for you?
I stretched at the same time every day, 6:42, because my very first road game, I saw Craig Biggio go out and stretch at 6:42, and he was number 7, and I was number 7. He was one of my favorite players, so that was just a thing. To be in the dugout at 6:30, and like 12 minutes later, I'd go run my sprints down the line. I'd touch whatever side the dugout was. I'd touch either third base or first base on the way out, way in. I unfortunately dipped tobacco for a lot of years, and I never dipped tobacco when I hit because I didn't want kids to see it. So that was kind of I don't know if that was a superstition per se. And then if you're winning and you're hitting, you drive the same way to the ballpark. If you're not, you find a new way to drive to the ballpark. Those are my main ones.
Favorite player growing up as a kid?
Oof, there's a lot of them. I mean, I guess Will Clark. And now we're friends, which is the whole surreal
Yep.
thing, the way baseball goes, and then you become a player and a broadcaster. I loved his cockiness and how confident he was, and just the sweet swing, and he could pick it at first.
He could.
Yeah, yeah, and now he's a friend, so that's really weird.
Who is the player when you were in the big leagues? You're like, oh my God, I cannot believe I'm facing this person or I'm playing against this person.
My favorite opponent player and the guy I looked up to the most was Ken Caminiti. He was just a stud. I mean, he was hardcore. He played the game hardcore, but he was also a rock star. And he missed the plays he made at third base. The MVP year, I think it was '96. I just used to look at him and go like, "Damn, this guy's it." And I remember I had a triple, and I was on fire at the time. It was my rookie year, and I got to third, and he goes, "You're a effing stud," and he walked away. And I was like, I called my parents. I'm like, Cammy called me a stud tonight. Like, so I ended up like getting to know him too, and having some beers with him. And he left us way too soon. And a lot of those guys that eat, drank, and slept baseball, that were like the hardcore gamers, have the most problems transitioning to the real world. You never want to compare it to, somebody that served our country in the military, but you're part of a tribe for so long. You have meaning to the guy next to you, uh, and you practice one thing your whole life, and that's the similarity in military. We have a bad day, we get to go to work again. They have a bad day, they don't. So there is a humongous difference. But like when that meaning that you have to the people in the locker room or in your company, whatever it is gone. Nobody teaches us how to be a father. Nobody teaches us how to be a husband. Nobody teaches us how to like go grocery shopping. Like all these little simple things that we take for granted. And so a lot of times when players are done, they have a real hard time transitioning into the real world. Because what we're doing is like, I mean, we're on a lighted stage every night in front of 50,000 people in our little bubble in the clubhouse, and we have meaning to this tribe. We practice to throw a baseball, hit a baseball, catch a baseball our whole lives. That's all we know. And then once that's done, it's like, oh shit, what's next? So guys like Cammy that lived it, he had trouble, and there's a lot of guys that have had trouble. So I've worked with a lot of military veterans and PTSD in my career. It's one of my passions. Um, but I don't know if Major League Baseball has something set up, but it would be really cool if they did, to help baseball players and athletes in general transition into the real world. And people watch this and are like, what? Come on, they made millions of dollars and da da da. And they're still human beings.
And not just that. I mean, think about it. You were what, 37 when you retired? Right? Like
Yeah.
37 in sports is old. 37 in the real world is like an infant. And so now you have the rest of your life to try to figure out, what am I going to do? And if you don't have a plan, you feel lost. You've lost that identity.
And if you didn't make enough money like I did, you still have to have some sort of income. And even the guys that made all the money, they still go through this.
Yeah.
Money doesn't solve problems. I mean, you still miss being part of a tribe where you have value to the man next to you. Like, we're not saving each other's lives like my military buddies are, but there's still a strong camaraderie and a strong sense of belonging.
All right. So we'll get off the deep talk right now, and I'll go pitcher you got your first major league hit off of.
Chris Hammond, lefty, soft tosser. Runner on second, nobody out. I'm hitting eighth. Jeff Facero, the pitcher's on deck. I go down to third base, Coach Jerry Manuel. I'm like, am I moving the runner here? Am I getting him over? He's like, nah, because Facero can just drive him into the right side. So I got to change up away and right-handed, hit it down the right field corner, triple. Scored the run. Chris Hammond, lefty from the Florida Marlins back then.
I remember him.
They were the Florida Marlins then.
Yes. All right. I am going to end it on this. Your best moment playing and your best moment broadcasting.
Oh, best moment playing. I know my worst moment playing. I needed a triple for the cycle against the Rockies and didn't know and stopped at second.
No.
Yeah. I didn't know. We were up 21-6. I'm like, well, I'm not going to try to go for three here. I don't want to piss anybody off. It was a stand-up triple, too, and I just came around first, and everyone's on the top step. Only time Felipe ever got mad at me. He screamed at me in the dugout. He goes, "What do you think you're going to hit for the cycle tomorrow?" I didn't know. So that was my best moment too. 4 for 5, like whatever. And I hit home runs from both sides of the plate against the Cubs one night. Right-handed, first time up, left-hand, last time up. And as a broadcaster,
Yeah.
hell, I don't know. I don't think I've had one yet. I don't. I mean, game 7, but I wasn't calling the game. I wasn't in the booth. Like we just were relegated to like sideline reporter duties, pre and post game stuff. But I guess as a broadcaster, that would be the first thing that pops into my mind.
Fair enough. I kind of had an idea. I thought we'd end on a happy note right there.
Yeah, well, it's all happy. Kurt Suzuki had a walk-off home run against the Mets when the team was down by like 7 runs in the 9th or something like that. That was pretty cool too.
Well, FP, really appreciate you joining me, reliving some of the playing days and some of the stories from the past. It's a lot of fun for me to hear these stories, especially ones I've never heard before, which was pretty much this entire podcast. And I hope the fans listening, watching, take away the same thing I did, not just how much fun this is, but how great of a person you are and how just one game that you and I called together has turned into a friendship of over 10 years.
Thanks, Justin. I mean, thanks for having me on, man. It's an honor to be on your podcast, and I had a good time. And I think the fans need to know that you're a snapper on the golf course too.
I am. Although, like you, I've worked on getting better.